If money only seems to show up when you are doing everything, and the exact moment you pause, the flow stops, you're not alone. If you're tired of overworking for every dollar, but on the flip side, you feel really anxious when you're not doing, when you're not in motion, or if all of the effort that you are putting in is truly based in a spiritual understanding of money, but you're not getting the results you want, you may be trying to force what the divine is asking you to receive. You have a pattern of forcing money to come to you rather than opening and allowing yourself to receive it. Welcome to episode 1 of my brand new series, Soul Money Sessions. I'm I really am excited, and I'm completely honored to begin this journey with all of you. This is a transformative series. It's meant to decode your soul's unique language with money so that you can stop trying to force wealth and instead receive it. In each of these sessions, we're going to explore one of the 107 different soul money languages. These languages give you a tangible way to partner with the sacred energy of money. And the whole point of doing that is to be able to co create more ease, more flow, more soul aligned abundance in your everyday life. Now, this can sound a little abstract, but the point of these soul money sessions is to take that abstract idea that money is divine, do what you love and the money will follow, right? To take those, they're not platitudes, but to take those sort of general concepts and give you really tangible knowledge and tangible steps. Okay. You are going to be able to use your soul's money wisdom to make everyday decisions with more clarity and more confidence. You're going to learn how to rewrite patterns that are so common with money, patterns of overgiving, undercharging, feast or famine cycles, self doubt, self worth. Okay. You'll learn how to use the language of the divine to completely change those patterns for yourself. It's my intention that you're going to shift from the space of, why can't I figure this out? I'm a smart woman. I understand the laws of the universe. Why can't I figure this out? And shift to instead, oh, this is how I was supposed to create wealth. Right? These sessions are here to help you understand how to rewire your energy so that you can receive the way you were designed to. You were designed to receive money consistently, with grace. We as humans have turned this into a power struggle, and it doesn't have to be. Okay? So, whether right now you're navigating a plateau in your business or you're ready to deepen your receiving practice for the sake of having more in your life, the Soul Money sessions are going to help guide you to the wealth that's already yours. Okay, so that's the overview of this brand new series. Today, we are going to tune into the Soul Money language called Agent. And I'm going to help you understand what that language is all about so that you can step into a new understanding of your relationship with money and how to act on that relationship so that there's money in the bank. Okay. So, agent is one voice, or you can think of it as the slice of divine and money that understands how to be in conscious action. This language really knows how to allow money to flow from conscious action. So, what does conscious actually mean? Of course, from a standard definition of conscious, right? It's being connected with whatever it is that you call that thing that is greater than you, whether it's divine, universe, God, nature, source. Okay. This language, this piece of wisdom from the divine and money is all about taking action from a place of knowing the result, knowing that money will flow, knowing that money supports you. There's no fear, there's no doubt, just a place of knowing. So, being connected with that part of the divine that helps you have an experience of actual knowing. It's not yearning, it's not hoping, it's not thinking mentally, oh, if I do A, I'm going to get B. But it's being able to take aligned action, alignment with that knowing that when you do step out in conscious action that you receive. Okay. It's also about taking action from a place of owning your personal power, meaning your personal drop of the ocean of the divine. Okay. Not only that, but feeling incredibly comfortable with the power of money and your power when you are flowing money. Okay. That is a really big topic, and we're going to talk more about power in just a moment. But before we get into that whole nest of potential complications, I want to return to this idea of conscious action. Okay. Part of conscious action is taking action that is aligned with you, and not just with you, but divine you. You, again, as I said, that is connected to that which is bigger and greater than you. So how do you know if you're in aligned, and then how do you know if you're in aligned action or not? Aligned action is going to feel, my experience of it is usually quiet, but there's a really strong nudge. It's not coming out of a place of panic or fear or worry, right? You know the difference, don't you? Between when you are sitting in a space that is, okay, I need this to make, I need this much money to pay the bills. I need this much money to do that vacation. I need this much money to do X, Y, Z. I want to bring in this much money in my business. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Oh, I could do that. I could do that project. Oh, wait, no, I don't know. Is that really right? And feeling yourself slipping into kind of a spiral, right? Or sitting, being in that quiet place of connection with your knowing, connection with your wisdom, and getting a nudge. Aligned action even comes out of when you are doing something completely unrelated to business. something where your mind is engaged in something just sort of soft and repetitive, like doing the dishes or taking a shower or doing the laundry? Have you had those moments where you've just had a spark of inspiration? That is alignment, and that is aligned action. Aligned action is also about really staying in your lane, if you will. So it's about being able to take those action steps without having to manage other people. How are they going to react? How are my clients going to react? How is the community going to react? Right? It's having this really deep trust that everything is moving forward. Aligned action is also having the knowing that when you act from your connection, timing is always divine, even if it doesn't really look logical, right? Even if the results take a few action steps. Okay, so let me give you a tangible example of all of this. Okay, so I had a client who has she had a new offer that she wanted to put out, and she was really excited about it, but she kept delaying because she couldn't quite figure out the pricing. Every time she tried to come up with an answer on what the price is, she spiraled. Right? She was looking all over at the marketplace, looking at what everybody else was charging. She was in the set of questions like, are people really going to pay this? Is it worth this price? Who am I to price something like this? Right? Because this was a program that was bumping her up a level in terms of how much money she was charging. It was new. So anyway, she got really caught up in this spiral. But then she paused and she asked the question, if I trusted my power with money, what would I do? If I trusted that I am supported in all that I do, what would the price be? And the answer really, truly was immediate at that point. She claimed the price. She made a few changes to the program. She emailed her list, and she signed a new client by the end of the week. Right? No overthinking, no more spiraling, just that really aligned action, claiming of her power. Okay, now, this is not to say that you don't need to do market research. This is not to say that you should operate outside the bounds of, I was going to say what everybody else is doing, but I don't mean it. I can't even say that. But it isn't about just sort of being this lone ranger that's shooting from the hip and saying, I'm going to give a 5-minute service and I'm going to get $1 million for it, right? That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is really claiming what you're offering, and operating out of that space of complete trust that you're supported and listening for the answer. Okay, that's alignment. All right. So let's talk about, okay, I just pause here for 1 second because my cat is acting really cranky and trying to get, he's just trying to get it. All right, I'll just let him be. I have 2 cats. I've got one cat who's in here with me, and then I have a cat who's on the outside who really wants in, and the door is banging. But as long as it's somebody trying to get in, suppose it's somebody trying to get out, I don't need to figure out how to get her out of here. So, all right. Okay, so we talked about being in alignment, right? Taking that action, taking that aligned action. So what I want to talk about next is, how do you know when you're out of alignment, right? From a practical standpoint, how do you know that you are not necessarily listening to your wisdom? Okay. So one of the ways that you're going to know that in relationship to money is you feel like you always have to work hard to get what you want. You are feeling like you just have to do and do and do and do. And it's not just even that you're in action. I remember long time ago when I was working, I got my start running my own business, and with mind body work with women who are working through fertility challenges. And I created a whole series of guided meditations that matched where the woman was in her cycle, whether she was doing a cycle on her own, whether she was doing a medicated cycle, an IVF cycle, whether she had PCOS. I did a whole series on that was one for every month of pregnancy after getting pregnant. Right? It was a lot of work and it was a lot of doing. I remember I would get up in the morning even on the weekends. I had 3 young kids at the time, and I would get up before dawn because I would wake up and I'd be like, "Ooh, I'm so excited!" And I would do, and I would work for a couple of hours, and then I would have stuff time with my family. And of course, I was working during the week as well. So it isn't about not doing action, right? But that action was being driven from a place of connection, of being completely seated in this knowing that like the work was being drawn out of me. I don't know how else to explain it. So there's that kind of action and work. But if you are one of these, if you are in one of these spaces where if you're not actively working on an offer, I mean, I've got a client who, if she isn't working on something, there's this total fear that her calendar is not going to be full. If I don't come up with a new offer, if I don't come up with this new funnel, if I don't come up right, there's just and this it's perpetual motion, because as soon as she stops that perpetual motion, the fear steps in. Okay? That is a big sign that you are not in conscious action. That is a big sign that you're not acting out of alignment. Another way that you know that you are taking action outside of alignment is you start those projects that, again, like I was describing, right? Oh, I feel like it's just things being pulled out of you, coming directly. Like it's like, oh, I don't know where this is coming from, but it just has to come out of me, right? So you start with that space of inspiration, but then you rely on control to keep going. So instead of saying, okay, I've got this chunk of, I'll call it a download. You might have different language for it. All right, I've done this part, and then, oh, wait a minute, I'm not hearing the rest of this. Okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to hit the pause button, and I'm going to spend my time coming back into connection. I'm going to come back into my own personal brand of alignment. And then as that inspiration comes back, I'll work some more. Right? So it's having that trust in the flow of your action. Now, the opposite of that particular flavor of disalignment is you keep waiting for the right moment. Well, I'll put that out when it's right. Oh, that date doesn't feel right. Oh, I don't know. Is this really good enough? Oh, maybe I just need to massage it a little bit more. Right? but doing that final push to put something out into the marketplace just never really feels quite safe enough. Right? So there's that sense of just constantly waiting for the right moment. Okay, this poor cat is going to lose his mind. Just going to text and see if somebody can let the cat into my office. Okay, you may see him here in a minute. All right, so we've talked about 3 big ways about feeling like you're out of alignment, feeling like you always have to work to, right, constantly be in motion, constantly be in action. You start projects with this real feeling of inspiration, but then instead of allowing that inspiration to ebb and flow a little bit, you are like, no, this has to get out. I said this was going to get out by next week, so I'm going to do it come hell or high water. Right? I got a client right now actually who, she'll she's got this new project that she really wants to birth. And it's clear she doesn't have all of the data, and yet the date, like she just beats herself up about this date. Right? Well, I didn't get it done. I didn't get it done. I didn't get it done. Right? So, okay. So being out of alignment by not following the ebb and flow of inspiration, or the flip side of that, which is to keep waiting for just the right moment. Right? So I want to pause here, and I want you to tune in and ask, which of these feels familiar to you? Where do you go when you are not in that connected conscious space? Do you go more towards the overdoing side of it? Or do you go more towards the stillness or not doing as much? Just check in with yourself. Pop into the comments what you're hearing. If I were to answer that question, I would say I used to be somebody that was on the overdoing side, but now I tend to freeze. If I disconnect, I tend to freeze and I just don't do anything. And there's a real difference, right, between freezing and not doing, and then pausing because you need more connection and more information, right? All right. So whether you overdo or you underdo, the answer is really the same. Okay? You want to stay in action. Right? Remember, agent is all about conscious action. To allow yourself to be in that space of conscious action, you want to anchor your action in alignment, right? Aligned action isn't about doing less, right? We're just talking about creating those meditations, right? But it's action from a different place. When you act from fear, you tend to go into like a gripping mode or a chasing mode. You actually override your inner knowing. A lot of us accidentally end up acting out of fear, right? Because they're for a variety of reasons, which we'll talk about in a moment, right? But aligned action is not something that you do from fear or from worry or from yearning or from needing. Okay. When you act from your soul's wisdom, as opposed to mentally like powering through, okay, when you do act from soul, you're not forcing anything. You're not forcing results, right? This client that I was sharing with you, who always has to be creating something new, is in the energy of forcing. When you are in alignment, you become the energy that invites the results. I was going to use the word magnetic, but there are other languages that talk about magnetism, and that's not exactly, I mean, it's a part of it, but it's more about, I have this image of, it was one of the Indiana Jones movies, right, where Indy has to cross a chasm, and he has this message of just step, and right, and the steps will appear, right? There was that just true faith that when he acted, there was going to be support for him. And that's exactly what conscious action is about, right? So you become that person who knows that as she follows that wisdom, the steps appear. Okay. When we add money into the mix, things get a little bit complicated. And they get complicated because we have so many eons of noise about money. So, one of the traps that when we are disconnected from this slice of the divine, when we're disconnected from what agent has to share with us, things, our action can get a little bit wonky, or the why we're acting gets a little bit wonky, which then leads to wonky results. Okay. Money is meant to follow your aligned movement, not become the reason that you move. And in my head, I've got all of these other pieces that I want to give you, because it's money is responding to your expectation, not necessarily your movement. But for the sake of this conversation, okay, so let me put that caveat in there. For the sake of this conversation, what I want you to remember is that money is meant to follow your movement, not become the reason you move. Listen, we all need money. There are bills to pay, lives to build, experiences to be had, right? I I mean, all of us have the ability to have the kind of money that we're asking for, right? That's a given. But when we chase that money, when we say, "Ooh, I need X amount of money in my bank account, what the bleep am I going to do to get that? Oh, I'm going to run this program because I need this many dollars." Okay, that makes your relationship with money wonky. It would be a little bit like, okay, so I want to experience deep love. Well, I better go find a partner. I'm going to pick, I'm going to count, the 10th person in line at the grocery store, and because I have this really deep need for love, I'm going to pick this person and I'm going to make them love me, right? The analogy is a little off, but that's what happens when you're like, "Ooh, I need money. I got to do something. I got to fill my bank account, so I'm going to do X, Y, and Z." Right? Another piece of the puzzle here is when we take action for the money, we are much more likely to shift out of integrity. We are much more likely to use manipulative sales tactics when we're on the phone with a potential client, where we are much more likely to overpromise we are much more likely to accidentally, even if it's not done with malice, we are much more likely to misuse our power with money. And when I'm working with my clients, the biggest fear that somebody walks into my virtual office is, I don't want to be one of those people. Right? You can take a look out into the world at large and you can identify people who are abusive with their money, people who are using their power and their bank accounts to do things or to be a way that you don't want to be. And so then, because you have that fear, because my clients have that fear, they don't fully step into their power with money. In the money relationship, you are the only one with free will. Your money relationship is you, the divine, and physical money. Neither the divine nor physical money have any free will. They follow your direction. But if you're hanging back saying, I don't want that kind of power, or I'm afraid that having money is going to give me power in a way that is going to not feel good. Right? When you're in that space, then the the whole the whole relationship with money gets wonky. It's hard to take that conscious action because there's a part of you holding back saying, no, I don't feel comfortable. Because if I take that action, if I really step out in my power, I'm right, money's going to come back. Okay. When you can move more fully into trusting that money follows your expectation of flow, you can stay more in the realm of your particular wisdom, your particular gifts, your particular amazing thing that you have to serve the world with. Right? It's okay to love money. Even, right? Let me say it again. It's okay to love money. It's okay to have a desire for a bank account that is full to the gills. Even if you are someone who is more on the spiritual side of business, right? Even if you're someone who is a healer, it's okay to love money. You just want to focus more on amplifying your trust of the flow than to take action for money. Can you feel the difference there? It's okay to love money. But when you have a love for money, when you're acting for money and only for money, not as just this understanding that money comes as a result of your action, that's when you get yourself into trouble. Okay? So part of the message that comes from agent is being able to have that. I'm kinesthetic, so I tend to talk about it in a feeling state, but it, right, you want to act from that being state, that feeling state, that money follows your action, right? Money supports you, right? All right. So another important piece of this aligned action conversation is knowing without a doubt that when you act from your divine guidance system, whatever you call that, right? However, whatever it is, whatever your definition is, your energy creates the magnetism for your offer, not just your strategy. So this is another way to think about money flowing from your action. So let me say that again. Aligned action comes out of, it's a result of acting from your divine guidance system and really knowing that your energy creates magnetism. You are going to be, let me say this a little bit differently. When you plug in to your soul, when you plug into your wisdom, when you plug into your deep trust in the divine, when you plug into a deep trust that money is a physical resource of the divine and is meant to flow to you. Okay? When you act, when you put an offer out based in that knowing, there is a magnetism. Strategy is important. Right? Messaging is important. Those business pieces are important. And they are not the sum total of what you're putting out there. Okay? So part of being in that space of aligned action is to act from that, well, alignment, right? Speaking in circles here a little bit. The more you can trust that, the more you will create more of what you want. Okay. So a couple other things to say here about aligned action. I really want you to trust your own power. I think I'm going to leave that there. There's so much to say, but I think we'll leave that for another language discussion. But I think that the thing I want to say here is that we can tend to fall into this trap that says, I will determine how powerful I am based on the results that I'm getting. So I'm going to wait and see how that offer does. I'm going to look at my bank account to decide how powerful I really am. And you can't do it that way. You are going to constantly be in waiting mode. Okay. All right. So one last piece to talk about in terms of aligned action before we get into some more practical kinds of things is what agent is really inviting you to remember is that you want to allow your results to come out of your presence rather than pressure and control. When we try to micromanage all of the details and to micromanage what we're receiving through our own action only, it just doesn't go well. I mean, you can do it, but it leads to burnout. And it certainly leads to underperforming results, no matter what level of income you're at, right? Whether it's $1, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, multiples, 7, 8 figures, right? No matter what level you're at, if you are trying to control and micromanage, you're going to burn out. You're going to end up in a business model that just doesn't work. It's not going to create freedom or ease, right? There's going to be no balance there. Okay. So after I've said all of that, it's time to tune in again to you. Where in your business or life are you taking action from fear that money won't come unless you make it happen? Let me repeat that. Where in your business or in life are you taking action from fear that money is not going to come unless human you, make it happen? And what would soul aligned action look like there instead? That's a pretty big question. So I'm going to invite you to take a moment either to take some notes as to what's coming up for you or write down the question so that you can come back to it. Okay, so basically you're looking at, where am I taking action for action's sake? And what would a more aligned action look like instead? All right. So let's transition here. And I want to get a little bit more practical, right? Because a lot of what I've been talking about are more concepts. What is it going to look like in your day-to-day life, right? I want to give you a few steps that you can take in order to make use of the wisdom that's come through from Agent. So the very first thing that I would say is that you want to start your day, your business day, with clarity. So the first aspect of that is to connect with your soul in whatever way feels right to you, whatever your personal practice is. The way I do that is to ask Divine Intelligence to create a connection with my personal soul through my personal soul language team. Okay, but make a connection with your soul in whatever way that feels right to you. And then once that connection is in place, you're going to ask to connect with divine wisdom in relationship with money. The way I do that is to connect with the Deva of money. Devas are metaphysical beings that are in charge of structure. So there is a Deva for everything. Okay, so if you could ask Divine Intelligence, create a conscious connection with the Deva of money. So now you've connected with your personal soul. You've connected with the Deva of money. Next, you want to ask to be in the being state of Agent. The being state of Agent is focused, confident, powerful. So you ask to, you can say, Divine Intelligence, fill me with the being state of focused, confident, powerful. And now comes the clarity part. Okay, so you're going to ask, what is the internal step that I get to take today? What is the external action step I get to take today? And you're going to see what comes through. Okay, so you're going to get clarity. You're going to literally put yourself in alignment with your soul, with the Divine Intelligence aspect of money, right? You're going to connect with that Deva of money. You're going to put yourself into space of being focused and competent and powerful. And then based on what it is that you want to step into, right? So if you have a particular desire to create a program, or if you have a program and you know, okay, I need to work through it, I need to work on it. What's the internal action step? What's the external action step? And you're going to have clarity then about what it is that you get to do that day. And that is going to give you conscious action steps. Okay. So that's one piece of tangibility that you can do. Second thing I want to talk about is just because you can take an action step doesn't mean you should. So if you get ideas for action that are outside of this clarity setting time, I want you to tune in and ask, what's the feeling behind this action? Is it that I'm trying to prove something? Is it I'm trying to make something happen? Right? Or is this coming from, or is that literally a piece of inspiration that came through? You do not have to be in action every single moment of every single day in order to receive the wealth that you want. In fact, that's actually the antithesis of the behavior that you want to do. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. Third, when you have some sort of action, some sort of task that has a money component, or you're putting an offer out, right? You're doing something, you're making a phone call, you're making a request of somebody that would end up in you receiving money. I want you to just pause and to tune in and, right, I receive support for my action. I trust what I just did. I trust that I'm in the flow. I trust I'm receiving support. Okay. And then finally, this is more of a big picture tangibility piece here. I want you to stop thinking of money as the boss. Instead of coming from the place of, I have to do this for the money, I'm going to invite you to shift that thought into, I'm choosing to do this because it aligns with me. It aligns with who I am. It aligns with this gift, this magic that I want to put out. And I let money support me in that. Right? Remember, you are the leader of your soul money relationship. Money and the divine have no free will. They are there to support you. So catch yourself when you're in the space of, I have to make money, I have to make money, I need to do this for the money. And again, it doesn't matter what level of income you're at. Okay? Catch yourself when it's like, oh, I'm doing this for money. Money is not the boss. I choose to do this because it aligns with me. And money supports me. Right? Okay. So how does that translate to more money in your account, more ease in your life? Right? I'm hoping you can sense it, you can feel it, right? There's truth to this. This is what Agent is saying. This is the wisdom of this slice of divinity and money, right? But when you move from doing action, from that pressure and control and fear and worry, and you move into spiritual alignment, right? You stop wasting energy on trying to prove that you're doing enough. How much action do we take to prove something, right? So that's done and dusted, right? I don't need to do that anymore. So there's no energy being put there. You are making clear decisions, and actually fast decisions. When you get practiced with being in alignment and creating that conscious action, you make clear, fast decisions that create results. The people who you are serving are going to feel your shift. They may not be able to consciously say it, but they're going to feel it. You become much more magnetic. People are going to respond. I cannot tell you This work comes from my experience, right? The money languages are divine, and then that gets paired with my experience. I cannot tell you the number of times where I have been in a in I can tell, right? I'm shifted into that yearning space. In fact, I just had this happen. I was um I was my daughter is getting married in September, and so there's a part of me that's kind of trying to pre-earn, if you will, right, for that month of September, because I really want to be present. And then I know that I'm going to need to be excuse me, resting afterwards. So there was that part of me that was slipping into, I was looking at the clientele that I have now, and I was kind of doing the math and where's everybody in their package, and right, and like, oh, Jennifer, you are like, woo, this does not feel good, right? So I took the time to stop and retune in to that understanding that money supports me. And I went to bed, and I am not kidding. I had a client come back who I haven't seen, oh gosh, it's been a year. And she went through the website and she clicked a button and she bought a package of services, right? So uh, when you make this shift to trusting that money supports you, whoever is in your community will feel that, and the people who are aligned with you will be coming in more numbers. It's the way it works. Okay. And money starts showing up more consistently because you're magnetizing, you're not micromanaging. And again, to be clear, right, you're still doing action, right? In order for that client to sign up for something, I needed a website, I needed to have a button that she could click, and I needed to have the system in place for her to receive the email, then to do the scheduling. I need to literally do the work, right? But receiving that money was a magnetizing. I couldn't, I, this is somebody who's been in and out of my sphere for a while. So maybe, she hasn't been around for a little over a year now, maybe, I guess. So maybe I might have thought of emailing her. And if the inspiration had come to say, hey, go email Meg, then I would have done it, right? But the point being is, when you are in this, when you're in conscious action, when you are in alignment, you're magnetizing rather than trying to control. Okay. This is the shift that helps you to start to receive in a way that finally feels sustainable. Okay. All right. So that is what I wanted to share with you in this soul money session. Agent is a really interesting energy. It is very, I experience it as very much on that conscious masculine side, because it is very much about action. But there's also that feminine component, conscious feminine energy. Feminine energy has the knowing of when to act. There are a lot of so what you'll notice as you continue with this series is that some of the languages are very metaphysically based. There are some languages that are much more grounded, and agent is one of those really grounded energies. It's going to be something that you're going to be able to act on as the human part of you. Okay. If this conversation resonated with you, there are 106 more languages to talk about, and each one of them offers another lens on receiving. It helps you to remember the wisdom that your soul already knows. So make sure that you are subscribed to stay connected to this sacred series. They happen weekly on Mondays. I would love to hear what your biggest aha is. coming from out of the session. So please drop a comment. I will be back in to read and to respond. And what I would also like you to know is that not only are there these 107 languages, but each of us carries our own set of languages within us. So you have personal soul languages that are here to support you in your purpose and how you do that purpose work. There are languages that support your money relationship, and those can be, I can identify those for you so that you can begin to connect with that wisdom that is really in alignment with your specific soul. So take a look in the comment section, and I will leave a link to connect with me. So if you want to chat with me about getting those languages identified, I can tell you more about that. Okay. So it's been a joy to share this with you. And, just remember, you weren't ever meant to chase money. You're meant to be in alignment, and money is meant to support you. Your wisdom, your personal wisdom knows that and knows how to do that. And the whole rest of the series will help you remember. So until we meet again,